Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 109 of the High Sensitivity Gaming Podcast. And thank you for listening. If it's your first time here, we talk about video game and movie news, as well as what we watched or played over the week. My name is Barry, along with my co host.
My name is Craig. There's a lot going on this week. I feel like my list is pretty long.
At least news wise, like games, we still don't have a lot coming out. Um, but movie wise, we did get a lot of movies.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
with the movies, let's go ahead and get to the news. Where my first piece of news is that already Doctor Strange has made over 480 million dollars, and it's only been 4 days since it's
Yeah,
come out since time of recording. So this movie's gonna make tons of money. It makes sense. It feels like this is kind of the highest hyped Marvel movie in a long time. Um,
since Spider-Man.
well, like not so much. Like I'm kind of like let's take Spider-Man out of the equation for a second. Like even since Spider-Man, it's kind of
Sure.
it's been like that. So I I'm happy for Doctor Strange. I love the Doctor Strange first movie, and we'll get into my thoughts on Doctor Strange 2. But
hmm
Disney just continues to show off that its Marvel investment was probably one of the smartest ones it ever made.
Printing that money, however much they paid to get Marvel was not expensive enough because they are literally breaking in billions every time they put a movie or show really out at this
Yeah.
point. Crazy, it's done that much. Do you know if that puts it on pace to beat Spider-Man?
I didn't
I didn't
see
look.
much about what it was on pace for. I just saw that it had made, as much as it did. And,
Yeah.
I have to imagine it's not on pace just yet. But, we're, even since the last Spider-Man movie, like the world is continuing to become more and more free about masks.
Yep.
Where, the theater I went to sold out. Wasn't a spot open for it. There was a huge line. I think we arrived. I want to say about an hour and a half early, and there was a pretty big line
Wow.
to get in. So it's just there are movies are back
Yeah.
and in a big way, and it just goes to show that like if the movie's big enough, people will go to the movie theater for it.
Yeah, I mean, I went on a Sunday at noon, and it wasn't full, but it was pretty full. So yeah, for sure. Like, to put that in contrast, I saw Spider-Man like the Sunday after it came
Yeah.
out at a noon, and it wasn't like completely empty, but it was nowhere near as full as this was. So definitely more people are more comfortable going now than they were back in December.
Yeah, I had seen No Way Home that like opening weekend. I think I saw it on a Sunday like at a noon showing as well.
hmm
And there were like no issues. There were spots free, open and
Yep.
that kind of thing where it seems like for you it's pretty full. So, but
Yeah, it felt like a normal pre-pandemic, um, maybe not like a Friday night, but like a normal matinee movie.
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
All right, so going into the gaming side of news, we have Call of Duty Vanguard didn't meet expectations, and Activision is blaming it on people don't like World War II. Seems a little off considering the Call of Duty World War II is one of the most loved games, I feel like. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that is not the reason it didn't meet expectation. I'm going to go with maybe it just wasn't that great of a game.
Yeah. This was what that you mentioning that story, that was one of kind of the strangest stories I had read,
hmm
this week about how instead of like blaming themselves, which would be like the more responsible thing to do, they want to blame it on the waning interest in World War II. And it's
Yeah,
just like, well then why did you if you're going to blame it on the interest, then why did you make the game in the first place?
correct.
If you really want to talk about failed Call of Duties, look at your futuristic Call of Duties like Advanced or Infinite Warfare. Like,
Yep.
go look at those and tell me that, oh, I guess people don't like sci-fi shooters. Like that's what they would say. Is that, oh, the waning interest is in sci-fi. And it's like, well, we beg to differ based on, current likes and everything like that in today's, media generation and whatnot.
Yeah.
So they probably should have just said that, but they're not going to say that. They're not going to, they're not going to say, "Oh, it was our fault that Vanguard failed." God forbid.
Right. And I didn't hate Vanguard. I think it's a mixture of they created such a monster with Warzone that most people playing Call of Duty don't really care about the new version coming out every year. And mixing on top of that, just general fatigue with Call of Duty games every year leads to where they're at now. I mean, now Modern Warfare 2 coming out, that's going to do insane numbers because that's the one everybody cares about. But everything else, I feel like at this point, is just kind of like, we don't really care. Let us know when the next Modern Warfare comes out.
Yeah, exactly. And we are getting into the world now where they are going to be taking more than 1 year to make a Call of
Yep.
Duty. So that will probably mean like during that year break off we are going to get bigger innovations in things like Warzone, where
Yep.
Warzone will probably receive, a major update, every 6 months or something like that to hopefully, and even then, keep it on pace with what Apex is doing, cuz Apex continues, at least to my knowledge, continues to take most of the battle royale like atmosphere because of how much they are updating that game. Where it's
Yep.
every 3 months you're getting an iteration on a map, a new hero, new weapons, that kind of thing. Like it never stops. It feels like with
Yep.
Apex, and that's what keeps the interest up. Is that you continue to add things and make it different in a way, so that
Yeah.
people are interested.
Agreed.
All right, next up for me is a delay with Prince of Persia remake delayed and moving to a new studio. I really want to get into like the Prince of Persia because it just seems like right up my alley of, a single player type of game, time stopping, parkour, and combat type of game. I never played the old Prince of Persia's. So I really do hope that this gets done right and correctly. It's just too bad that it's delayed.
Yeah, I would honestly say for you and everybody else who hasn't played them, go back and play the Prince of Persia that came out on 360, the first one, not the I forget what the one after it was called. I still think it holds up to this day, and it's a very good platformer. But I'm gonna go with this game is never coming out. I just at this point I don't see it. It's been delayed. It's moved over to different studios. I don't know. I have zero hope of ever seeing this game come out.
Yeah, I'm not that tied into how much it's been delayed or anything like that when it comes to new studios, but I think there's interest in it, and I think
Mhm.
if there's interest in it, Ubisoft, at this point, I think Ubisoft will take any type of game that's going to change the narrative of what they've put out recently,
Yeah.
where all they're really known for is Assassin's Creed and Far Cry games, which both are very similar in what they do. Both free open world games, just set in different time eras and different versions of storytelling, I'll say. But, Prince of Persia would be that different thing that they need to get into. So,
Yeah, I agree. Also, with the gaming news, as far as things coming out, we have a new Mafia in early development at Hangar 13. Probably tied to, I would assume, a moderate success in that definitive edition that came out last year.
mhm.
I'm excited. I like 1, 2, and 3, so I'm on all aboard for more of that.
Yeah, the Mafia series did make a fan out of me because I did end up playing the Mafia series on PlayStation when it came out,
Mhm.
and I'm excited for the new one. I just like that time era. Like that
Yeah.
time era is like really cheesy. It's really fun. They do a ton of stuff with like the mafia type thing that I just find their game so much more interesting than a game like Assassin's Creed or anything like that. Like, yeah, a lot of the times mafias are compared to like GTA's, but
Mhm.
Mafia kind of knows when to not take itself seriously. Like it can make it super campy and super like movie type in a way where you kind of get the mix of, you're in an open world GTA, but you're also getting a pretty good story just
Yeah.
what you're based off of what you're playing in the story mode, where it's almost like, it's a single player story instead of just an open world as well.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see where they go with this. I mean, Mafia 3 was the 70s, Vietnam era. So I'd be interested to
Yeah.
see if they stick with that or if they go back to like the 20s or 30s, which I think most people would probably prefer.
Yeah. We'll see. But next up for me is issues with Nintendo contractors and Nintendo. We have a civil rights case coming up where Nintendo contractors are suing the company of Nintendo because there's a lot of bad blood, it seems, between the two. There are stories about how a Nintendo contractor got injured while at a Nintendo like headquarters, and because they weren't a like an officially like employee from Nintendo, like they weren't allowed to go to the general hospital that Nintendo has them go to, or a coworker couldn't drive her. She had to get an Uber to go to to go to the hospital. So there's a lot of like weird stuff to where the Nintendo contractors aren't getting enough communication. They aren't getting treated right, even though they technically work for Nintendo. Because the main issue here is that a third party handles like the Nintendo contractors that go out to stores like Walmart, Best Buy, GameStop, Target to set up those displays, to set up stuff like that. Of like it's all done through a third party, so that's where it seems to be a lot of the issue here, where Nintendo's not really honoring them as employees because they aren't hired directly by Nintendo.
Yeah. Do you get the sense that, like, you know how people talk about how there's like a dark side of Disney, right?
Yeah.
Where they're like, do you get that kind of sense with Nintendo sometimes?
Oh, for
Or like
sure. Like
they're
it.
like a super family friendly company, but like in the basement there's bodies.
Yeah, in the and it happens at any company. Every company's
Yeah.
going to have dark secrets where it's not so much bodies in the basement per se, but
Yep.
it's just dark stuff and shady stuff that they do that allows them to save to cut corners, and more importantly save money, because
Oh yeah.
that's all businesses are really looking to do is save money and cut corners if you know liability is not on them. So good luck to the Nintendo contractors working in retail and having worked in it for a long time. I always liked the Nintendo contractors. I hope that you know they get what they want, because they're in my eyes they work for Nintendo despite the fact that they're hired by a third party.
Yep.
If Nintendo has an issue with that, then maybe Nintendo needs to look at how they process things. And even the old president of Nintendo of America, that was a mouthful, Reggie Fils-Aimé, was saying that this isn't the Nintendo that I left. So since then, things have changed. Whether Gary Bowser isn't really, in tuned with the contractors, maybe that's the problem. But there seems to just be a lot going on that, I don't know, it kind of makes sense that all of the studios are kind of coming out with these things. First, it was Activision, then cases against Sony, now cases against Nintendo and whatnot. So this kind of thing happens, and it's just only a matter of time before it becomes into daylight.
Yeah. I mean, they should have known the dude's last name is Bowser.
Yeah,
They
bad
should have been
guy.
all over that. Yeah, exactly. Slightly less serious note here. Babylon's Fall. For everybody who's played that, I did try that on
Oh
PlayStation
boy.
5. Has dropped to one concurrent player on PC. And as of checking a couple hours ago, that man is still keeping it alive. So it's kind of funny to me that, like, look, I played that game and I thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
But like, it reminds me of when the servers for Halo 2 shut down, and there was like a group of, I think it was like 5 or 6 people who left their original Xboxes on so that they couldn't shut the server down until Microsoft eventually just shut it down. But hats off to this guy. He won't go down in history as a name we remember, but I mean, he'll always have that achievement, I guess, to be like, yeah, I was the last person playing this terrible game.
He's not the hero that Babylon's Fall
Yep.
deserves, but the hero they need is what it
Yep.
is. I
Maybe Square should send him something as like
Yeah,
respect.
or like just refund his money instead of
Yeah, maybe.
instead of paying for that terrible game.
Oh, it
But
was awful.
speaking of Square, kind of the big news and rumors around Square right now is earlier last week, Square Enix sold properties like Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, for 300 million to Embracer Group, and the studios included are Eidos, Crystal Dynamics, and Square Enix Montreal. Now, like I'm kind of tying everything together here with a rumor that Sony is going to buy Square Enix. And I think why a lot of this, like personally for me, it makes sense is Sony isn't looking to buy a 1,000+ employee studio. It's looking to buy smaller studios. So now that Square Enix has sold those three studios off to somebody else, they are a much smaller studio and can maybe be acquired by Sony in order for PlayStation to continue to build its exclusive catalog, because that's what seems to be important to most places right now. But what's hard to the reason it's all making sense to me is because Tomb Raider the trilogy series sold more than 300 million on its own. So
Yeah.
it's like this seems to be a fairly good deal for Embracer Group when everything really wants to be sold for $500 million or billions of dollars. So it's strange that Square Enix sold them the way they did, but it doesn't surprise me that the rumor now has come out that Sony wants to buy Square Enix because of it. Now that they're a smaller studio, but what are your opinions? Or is it all adding
I
up in your
mean,
head like it is mine?
yeah, I could see him doing that. I mean, further cementing that would cement a Kingdom Hearts exclusivity deal again, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and also I believe
Final
Final
Fantasy?
Fantasy 16
Yeah.
is an exclusive. I don't know if it's a timed exclusive, but I remember the announcement that said it was a console exclusive. Whether
Hmm.
timed or not, I'm not sure. But these JRPG games that Final Fantasy, for example, Kingdom Hearts, tend to sell typically better
Yeah.
on on PlayStation, because I think and I guess the way people see it is PlayStation is the more JRPG friendly type studio. That's where a lot of the games come out on. Where I don't see Xbox with, for example, Atelier Ryza 2. It doesn't seem to have those games, and it's in out and ready to buy, but Sony always does, and Sony is a Japanese company. So
True.
I if it does happen, what would your like if you were Sony, how much are you buying Square Enix for?
I mean, if you're going off of their major properties, which would be Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy at this point, those are big franchises, but I don't think they're like insanely big franchises, right? They sell, but they don't sell like a Call of Duty does or something like that. So I would say maybe like 500 million.
Okay.
I
I'm
feel like
more
that's
along
fair.
I'm more along the lines of 750 million.
Okay. I
Uh
can see that.
or a billion. Like I just feel like, there's been all these rumors about how is Sony going to answer Xbox acquiring Activision in
Yeah.
a way. So we haven't really heard much about how Sony's going to do that. This could be how Sony does it. You get a storied game
Mhm.
developer studio in the Final Fantasy series, you know, Kingdom Hearts, even I get I'm a huge fan, but they're more famous for their Final Fantasy series and
Yep.
some of the other stuff they do. They still have other studios
Mhm.
in it, but it's I want to see Sony do something. I just hope it's just not for like the of course the to the detriment of the entire gaming community.
Yeah. It would make sense. I mean, no matter what Microsoft does, Sony and PlayStation is always going to be bigger in the Asian market, right? So it would make sense for them to buy Square, who puts out some phenomenal JRPGs, because they're going to sell more on PlayStation than they ever will on Xbox. I don't know if the gap has gotten smaller over time, but I feel like it's still a pretty wide gap in the Asian markets between people buying PlayStation and Xbox. I feel like it still has to be pretty big.
And on top of that too, what I do want to mention, because I was looking this up,
Hmm.
like in the studios that Square Enix sold, they sold the Eidos, so and the makers of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, one of my favorite games of last year.
Hmm.
So, and I think technically a well loved game, all things
Yeah.
considered. Too, it won awards, I believe,
Yep.
from the Game Awards studio. So again, it just seems like all of this is swirling to a point that's just like all the dots are kind of connecting here,
Yeah.
where you know, so Square Enix seems to have set themselves up to be bought. Do they really need to be bought still? Not really. If they didn't want to, they don't have to. Final Fantasy will continue to make buckets of money no matter
Yep.
what it takes to produce. No matter what it takes to produce one. So.
Yeah. I agree. Not last, but last piece of games coming out news that I have is there is a alleged leak that GTA 6 will be launching in the second half of 2024. Are you going to go the over or under on that?
Over.
Me too. I don't see it. That's like a year and a half away, right?
Yeah, and I get that they're probably working on it, and
Yep.
they're probably, we know they're working on it. Let's be honest.
Yep.
And I don't know. I just feel like they have to somehow surpass GTA 5, which
Hmm.
kind of seems like an impossible feat considering how many millions it made. But it's more like of the work that they have to do with the multiplayer system. Red Dead Redemption's 2 multiplayer system was like reamed to death
Yep.
because of the way they wanted people to buy gold and how much you produced gold and what you could do. GTA has always been a really fun and arcadey way of doing things, but how do you surpass that? And I think that's what's going to take a lot of time. They want the next GTA to be that PS5 and Xbox Series X game that shows off what these new consoles can do.
Yep.
And we've already seen what they kind of do, but imagine one that's built completely from the ground up, from meant for these next gen systems. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of positives to it, but it wouldn't make much sense for them to be doing it in the second half. Like, it would need to be end of quarter 2024,
Yeah.
where it's closer to the holiday season, because whenever that game comes out, it's going to demand all of the attention it gets. It's going to be bigger
Yep.
than whatever Call of Duty. It's going to be bigger than whatever game comes out because it's GTA.
Yeah. What makes me nervous about this is I could see them hitting that mark, but it makes me nervous that there's such an emphasis on GTA Online that we may get a significantly shorter single player experience in a GTA game than we're used to, where
Hmm.
they just put all this effort into GTA Online and then they go, yeah, here's your 15 or 20-hour single player, that I care more about than the online. But they may look at it as like kind of like how Call of Duty looks at their single player. Like, yeah, we'll throw it in, but it's not the most important thing. But also, like you said, this is the opportunity for them to really knock it out of the park. I don't know if you saw recently, I think I saw it yesterday. A running on the new Unreal Engine, it was like a subway that they did
Yeah,
a test thing on. You could not tell that it was not real.
yeah.
And like they have the opportunity to really push the boundaries on these consoles and also PCs. I'm just hoping that they still commit to a solid single player experience, because to me that's the heart of GTA, not online and spending hundreds of dollars on shark cards.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is like GTA Online did a good job of like releasing that like content that you can play with your friends,
Hmm.
because that always seems to work like
Yeah.
well, and always seems to be like, okay, we can play this 4-player type of heist missions, whether it's beach themed, casino themed, or anything like that, with your friends or alone. So it seems like maybe they're probably going to find a way to integrate like the story mode single player and the story mode online,
Yeah.
where there probably is going to be characters they made, but a character you make that interacts with the rest of the world.
Yeah. I could see that.
And then that's pretty much it for me. The only other thing is Xbox is set to release their streaming stick sometime this year. It's been kind of down the rumor mill that eventually, much like how you plug in a Fire Stick or an Amazon Fire Stick or a Google Chromecast stick to the back of your TV, you're going to be able to play stream games from this stick. I just kind of wonder whether or not it's going to work better than it does like on a tablet, because like you have to have pretty fast internet connection to get this to work right.
Yep.
And is it going to be one of these things again where the lag is too much or anything like that? Like I'll admit, like the system they have now is pretty good. I like it.
Mhm.
Uh, I just how big is this streaming stick even going to be? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like they're making it, but for whom? That's always been like my thing.
Yeah. I'd be willing to try it if I was like going on a trip, right? Because like rather than, I mean, I guess I could play on my tablet because I would have that anyway. But like if you could
Yeah,
throw that in your bag and be like, oh, yeah, I don't have to bring my Xbox. I just have my little Chromecast, but it's Microsoft, and just plug it in the hotel in their TV and off I go playing all my games. As long as it works well, like that could be pretty cool, as long as it's not like $100, maybe like 30 or 40.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think it would end up being like 40 or 50 if I had to guess.
Yeah,
And
probably.
and to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 60 if there's like a 3 month or a 1 month Game Pass Ultimate that comes with it, that
Yeah.
kind of thing where they tend to bundle to raise the price.
Yeah, I could see that too. It's always going to be a little bit more when it comes to gaming related, so I could see 60.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, last piece of news I have actually came from, should we call her an inside source? Everybody here knows Rachel. She
Yes.
sent this over to me, so hats off to Rachel for getting this to me. But there is a game that came out on Steam recently called Acquitted. It is a game that revolves around everybody's favorite person in the world, Kyle Rittenhouse. Um, Everybody knows him, whether you're for or against him. You could say he is a polarizing figure in our United States history.
Yeah.
This game fantastically flopped on Steam. And there's a whole story over on Kotaku if you want to read the whole thing. But basically, what happened is they were bragging, the developers were bragging that it took them 30 days to make this game. It looks like it took them a week, if that. It is one map outside of a courthouse, and you're literally shooting zombies that they call brainless, holding Black Lives Matter signs. You get the general idea
Oh
of
my
the game
god.
here. But that being said, it has failed tremendously on Steam. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of comments saying why it failed and not having anything to do with the game being utterly awful and look like it should be a mobile game. But yeah, take what you will from that. And again, thanks to Rachel for getting that over to me so we could take a look at it. But yeah, I mean, that's where we're at with cashing in on something to try to make a quick buck, I feel like.
Terrible. I hate people. I
Yeah.
this is why like the United States is just going to go down in flames because of
Oh, yeah.
stuff like this. But
Yep.
we will move on to
Yeah.
games we played this week, which for me, like, it's been nice. I'm catching up on my backlog. I'm playing Forbidden West. I'm
Hmm.
playing Pokemon Arceus again, or Arceus again, and the new game that we both played this week was Golf Plus.
Heck yeah, Golf Plus. Golf Plus for me as well. I finally got to play Switch Sports, and then I went off the deep end into the world of samurais and martial arts as I completed Trek to Yomi, and I also started about halfway through Sifu.
Oh, okay. So, I was about to say most of my two games are mostly older, and that we've already
Yeah.
talked about them. So go ahead and talk about Sifu and Switch
Okay.
Sports, whichever one
Um,
you
y-
want to.
yeah, we'll get Switch Sports out of the way since I mean you talked about it last week.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you. I'm a little disappointed with it. I feel like if I really want to bowl, I'm going to go play Wii Sports because I feel like even though it's older, it's the superior version. Um, I've having a lot of issues with it not being very accurate, and I don't know if that's just my remotes or what's going
Hmm.
on, but having issues there. The rest of the games are fine, but it's definitely not what I wanted out of it for sure. Which I'm really bummed. And again, like you said, they have the chance to add to it down the line, but for me, yeah, I don't see myself playing this unless somebody comes over and is specifically asking for it at this point.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's going to be the better, like, it's definitely like a better party game where, like,
Yeah.
bowling, nobody has to really wait. You can all bowl at once, and you get that, you kind of get that speed and reaction to it a lot more.
Hmm.
So I definitely see where it's going to be good in like a party setting, but for the most part, like if you're playing by yourself, you're really not. You're probably not looking at this at all.
Yeah, I played it by myself for about an hour and I was like, I think I've done everything here that I need to do, which is a
Yeah,
shame.
I did find out that there is some sort of ranking system online that is pro, where you start, if you win enough games, I guess you get to what's called a pro ranking to play other pro ranking people on Switch Sports Online. Uh,
Okay.
it's not a physical number you see; it just is a message that comes up that tells you so. So
Hmm.
we, there is that to it. There is some sort of ranking system that I wish was there in the first place, but there is room for this to grow. I'm not like I really haven't picked it up since we last played it. To be fair, there really isn't much to do
Yeah.
other than the 6 games you play there. But I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. Like I'm still more on the positive side for it because
Mhm.
it reminds me of Switch Sports, which is a good thing. And
Yeah.
there are things that it could eventually end up growing to be better if they continue to update it.
Yeah, it's not a bad game by any means. I think I expected more out of it than what I got. All right, so let me do Trek to Yomi and Sifu here. Both kind of similar. Trek to Yomi is a side scroller samurai Dark Souls ish action adventure. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Hmm.
It is on Game Pass, so you don't even have to buy it. You can give it a shot. It's by Devolver. It's done completely in black and white, and it looks like it's a old samurai film with like the film grain and that kind of stuff. It's absolutely beautiful for an indie game. There are moments where I was blown away with how good it looks, and it's about 4 to 5 hours to beat the whole thing, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was
Okay.
great. It can be punishing at times, but the whole stuff we're used to, counter, roll, dodge, all that is here. The bosses can be painstakingly difficult at times, but overall I thought the story was good, and I had a blast with it. So between this one and Sifu, I think Trek to Yomi is the better game.
Okay.
Sifu feels good when you're playing it. It can just be a little frustrating at times. I like the idea of like when you die, you have the option to come back, but you gain years onto your life and you become older. Or you can decide to completely give up and go back to age 20, which is where you start, and just try the whole level over again. That's a cool idea. But when you start over, you lose all the upgrades that you had made throughout that level. So I think it's a cool gimmick, but I'm having fun with it. But again, I think Trek to Yomi is the better game of the two.
Yeah, Sifu hasn't been something I've gone back to in a long time. Like
Yeah.
Sifu kind of frustrated me in a way where if I don't know if it feels like if you're having a bad day on Sifu, it's not gonna get better.
Nope.
Like it's it's all about kind of guarding and then reacting to what they're doing. Like I feel like it's not a game that you can play like if you're tired and like
No.
wanting to like you would just get frustrated because the enemies and especially like the bigger enemies that take like two type finisher moves to finish are
Yep.
the ones that are most frustrating to me where they just seem to power through you more than anyone else, and they make life very difficult. So I do see the
Yeah, and I
complaints
don't
here
know if
for it.
it's like you said, if I just get frustrated, but I feel like at times it's not as responsive as it should be. Like there's times where I feel like I should have parried successfully or at least blocked and I don't.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I end up just holding block and trying to like dash around and just kind of avoid them. But yeah, it can definitely get super frustrating really quick.
Yeah, of course. All right, so are we to Golf Plus?
Yeah, let's get to Golf Plus.
All right, so Golf Plus, like it, I didn't really know what to expect because all
Yeah.
I had seen is that this was a pretty highly rated VR game. And to be honest, it's kind of met my expectations and more. I
Yeah.
feel like this is the rare case where it is more than just a golf game. Like it's more than just like a golfing simulator, which we played online for. There is
Hmm.
also Top Golf to where it's more arcadey and fun. Uh, and then it has like all these mini games with Pro Plus as well. There are so many kind of ways to just get into golf. You don't have to like it.
Yep.
Even this is kind of a way if you're interested in it, you can learn more about it and figure out maybe how to play. Like the one thing that does frustrate me is I just can't seem to figure out like how to get the ball to fly like on the path that it's projected to. Like I'm either always to the right or always to the left, and sometimes it's straight, but it I really wish there was more physical feedback to tell you like, oh, you're not lined up correctly, or oh, you need to move the club here in order to hit it on the projected path, because right now no matter where I put my club and then I swing, it seems to always be left, right, no matter if it's the perfect golf swing or not.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think like I have spent a decent amount of time this week doing the driving range, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have the ability to turn on like the feedback, so you can see on the ground like the lines of like if you hit it here, it's straight. If you hit it over here, it's going to be a curve, this or a slice,
Mm-hmm.
or a draw. So spending a lot of time this past weekend there, just like hitting balls and it telling you when you're done, like as soon as you swing where you went, has helped with that. But yeah, it could be a little bit better. And I did see that there are like attachments you can buy to make it
Yeah.
more like a golf club, which could be interesting. Um, but I think overall this game is a ton of fun. It's definitely better with other people than
Yeah.
by yourself. I've had a decent amount of fun this week. Like you have the ability to put music on, which is literally just searching YouTube. And
For
I've
a
had a ton,
playlist. Yeah.
yeah, just looking up, like spent so many nights this week putting a playlist on and go playing mini golf or putting a
Yeah.
playlist on and just hitting balls. But yeah, like the cornhole is fun.
Yeah.
The beer pong with, I forget what they call it, but you're literally just like pitching balls, you know what I mean? That's cool. Um, I I mean, we that first night when we played, I was like dying laughing because it was so much fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is a great game. I've been telling literally everybody I know who has an Oculus to buy it. Just because I feel like if you could get a group of like 4 people going, I feel like it would be chaos, but in a
Yeah.
good way. You'd have so much fun.
Yeah, like the I can't say enough how like surprised I am by like how much there is to do in this game.
Yep.
Um, like I'm thinking of ways to award it something for like our award to be
Yeah.
when we do it at the end of the year, because this game is not only just it makes golf fun, it also just feels like such a meatier package than what it leads to believe. I didn't know there was cornhole until we kind of figured out and played with it.
Yep.
I didn't know that there was a music player in it. And like the fact that there's a music player can really make the game almost, instead of like a fun laughing experience with your friends, almost a zen experience by
Yep.
yourself.
Yep.
So it's it kind of matches everything you want to do. It's just a matter of how you want to do it. And if you're willing to go into the driving range and take the feedback that it gives you and kind of learn how to play better. Whether or not that translates to the real game, I'll find out. I golf in real life. We'll see whether or not it translates better. But I was floored with how impressive like this game is. And it's
Yep.
just a really fun time, whether I think you're by yourself or with a person. And it's only $40.
Yeah.
uh I feel like with the amount of stuff in this game, they could have charged 60 and I wouldn't feel like I'm ripped off by it.
Yep.
So, as Craig was saying, if you're somebody who has an Oculus, uh, get Golf Plus if you can. It's a fun time, and I think, you know, while it can be frustrating, just take the time to learn to golf like anybody would in real life, and isn't that the point of VR? So,
Yeah. I've literally every night this week since I bought it been like right before I go to bed, be like, all right, I'm gonna go hit a few balls before I go to
yeah,
bed. And it's nice that I'm using my Oculus again. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I put a playlist on for like 20 minutes and I'm just hitting balls and it's so relaxing. I mean, I feel it in the morning in my back because I mean, it's not like you're hitting anything, but you're still doing the motion, so you're still feeling it. But it's just so nice just to be like, yeah, I'm chilling out for the night, and just gonna hit a few balls.
Learn proper, like the one tip I have for that is like go on YouTube and learn how to like properly, like how you set up your body,
Yeah,
so that way it doesn't hurt your back.
yeah,
Like I've been able to get into the game, and when I'm taking my time and not like leaning over and stuff, my back is fine. I don't have any issues. So,
you
you
have
know
to
that
look into it.
yeah, that's one thing to recommend too. Like if you're having pain, like learn how like golfers set up their shots and how they bend their knees, kind of keep their backs a little bit straighter, or slightly leaned over, so you don't end up hurting yourself. Of course,
Yeah,
anything with VR, you can end up hurting yourself if you're not doing it properly.
very easily.
Yeah, no kidding. But that's it for games this week. Hopefully, we've convinced you to go buy Golf Plus or anything like that. But this week in movies and
Got a
TV
lot.
shows. So for me, it's Doctor Strange and the Madness of the Multiverse. It's
Yep,
also the finale of Winning Time,
yep,
and also the finale of Moon Knight, which I'd like
yep.
to give a prospect on those two. But did you end up watching other things as well,
Yeah.
or?
So I watched the rest of Ozark, so that's completely done. I have my
Hmm.
feelings on Ozark, and on top of Doctor Strange, which I also watched, I did also watch Sonic 2.
Oh, good. Okay, cool. I really need to watch Sonic too. So I'm interested to hear your stuff. But let's work our way up, I guess.
Sure.
So let's first talk about let's go with Winning Time
Sure.
finale. Uh Overall for the series, I super enjoyed it. I thought they made like basketball and like the start of the Lakers dynasty this fun dramatic type of type of thing. The fact that like Magic Irvin, in this or Magic Johnson in this TV show, he's kind of a bad guy in how he treats
Yep.
women, but he's still the person that, they voted for Larry Bird for Rookie of the Year when Magic Johnson did all this stuff, and I love like how like Magic Johnson is in his head, like he's
Yep.
seeing him when he's not there. They're back talking each other when they're not physically there. I kind of love that banter,
Yep.
but that they set up between the two, and I think they set up a really good place for season two, where whether it's Magic and Bird continuing their rivalry or Jean Buss, maybe finally breaking out of her shell a little bit. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this series, and even though like I knew what the finale was going to end up being, I couldn't help but get goosebumps watching their like kind of basketball montage where like Irvin's like tired, breaking down from all of the playing time he has to have to step up because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's out. So I really love this series. Like, if you're a sports fan, even if you don't like basketball, I think you should give it a shot. It is fun and it's dramatic. I didn't find it boring at all.
Yeah, it's obviously they took a lot of liberties.
Of course, yeah.
But I mean they say that at the beginning. But yeah, I overall it was super entertaining. They told the story very well. They do a fairly decent job of showing good and bad qualities of pretty much everybody in this show.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like they may have went a little heavy on Larry Bird, but he was also known to not be the nicest person, so
Yeah.
fairly accurate. But yeah, I thought it was a very very good show. Um, if people don't know the story of Magic Johnson, I think this is a good way to kind of get to know who he was, who he is now, and how much he meant to basketball, him and Larry Bird and Kareem and everybody else. But yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was great. I had a great time with it.
Yeah, and the 76ers are in it. So, we
Yeah.
get a little bit of 76ers shout out despite the, for us too. But go ahead into one of the two movies you watched, I guess.
All right, let me knock out Ozark.
Okay.
So we got the conclusion of season 4 of Ozark, which is the definitive ending, unless they decide to, I don't know, I guess go more later. Um, it's very decisive if you look on the internet. People who like the ending, people who do not like the ending. I'm kind of in the middle. I didn't hate it, but I didn't think it was great. I feel like a lot of shows, especially when they go multiple seasons, have an issue where they just don't know quite how to end a series. Look at Game of Thrones. I think that's probably the biggest offender. But I think they did a pretty good job of kind of wrapping up that, like, nobody in this show really gets to succeed. I guess the main characters do. I don't want to really spoil anything, but it kind of ends on like a not the greatest note. So I'm okay with that. I think they could have changed a few things. There was some stuff that was in that last half of the season that I felt like was kind of pointless. But overall, I think it's a show that's worth watching. But again, like I've said before, it's a show where you literally hate everybody for the most part. There's like one or two characters that I enjoyed, but everybody else in the show is such a horrible human being that you just kind of end up hate watching this show and being like, oh, I hope this person gets killed or I hope this person does. That was like my main motivation for this show. So if that sounds good to you, give it a shot. If that sounds not like a great time, then you could probably pass on it. But for me, I think it's going to go down as probably one of the best TV series of all time. It's not quite up there with Breaking Bad or anything like that, but I think it's a solid, like, probably top 50 all time.
Yeah, I'm excited to start watching Ozark at one point. There are so many series I need to catch up on, but like the first one on my list right now is Stranger Things
Yeah.
because I know that that's ending soon.
Hmm.
So, a lot it feels like, two of the big series that Netflix has kind of come to know, Ozark is huge,
Yep.
because it even has spin-offs of, Narc, or
Hmm.
so you know, all of the spin-offs with Mexico. And then now Stranger Things ending to where it's kind of like, you've got heavy hitters retiring, and where has, especially in all of the drama that Netflix has endured
Yep.
over the past month, like, okay, what is going to be your heavy hitter now that what people stay subscribed to you for? But we'll see. Let's
Yep.
go ahead and talk about the Moon Knight finale,
Sure.
where I have a I kind of felt like it was a pretty big finale to kind of have to come in and do, but I loved it.
Hmm.
I love the reveal of the, what is it, Red Scarab is her name or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
And then like the fight scenes in Moon Knight I thought were all pretty good. Like everything really, came along well. I thought Oscar Isaac continued to do a fantastic performance. The only issue I had, and spoilers straight up here,
Yep.
is we find out who the third personality is because they allude to it. There's another sarcophagus in the room.
Yep.
There are multiple times where Mark or Steven look at each other and go, "Did you do this?" And both of them say no. So they kind of just drop it at that. Where this third personality, Jake, I kind of feel like they did a get out of jail free card with, Moon Knight is pinned to the ground, he's losing, and then he suddenly changes his personality to Jake and he's winning.
Hmm.
So I don't know what. Like I wanted to see why. I wanted to see what makes Jake, because like Mark is pretty badass, I'd say.
Yep.
Where, he can fight. Steven's kind of now learned to take the fighting role as well. But what makes Jake this totally different being
Yep.
to the other two? So I kind of feel like they comped out with like a really good action or fight scene by just cutting to the fact that, oh wait, we won. How did we win? Who cares? Let's continue going, kind of thing. Um, so it we're probably going to get another series because it went over as well as it did and as popular as it was. It just, again, I just wanted more answers. I wanted answers to who Jake was, and you know everything like that, and why in the afterlife is what's his name, Heron or Harkin, of why is his afterlife also a mental house or something like that. Like I thought it'd be different for everybody. Like there are some questions to be had
Hmm.
about how they took it, but overall it's an enjoyable series.
Yeah, I didn't mind that they didn't show the last fight scene. I thought it was an interesting choice just to kind of leave it up to, I guess, your imagination. But yeah, I'm okay with Jake. I feel like Steven's obviously the voice of reason. Mark is the one who is a certified badass, but then Jake is just a killer, right?
Yeah.
So like Mark is the one who would fit in well with the Avengers, whereas Jake is just like no, I'm just gonna kill everybody, like no remorse, just killing everybody. But yeah, I thought it ended well. Obviously, I feel like they're gonna do another one, but maybe they don't. Maybe they just bring him in somewhere in the Marvel movies,
Yeah.
which I could see them doing. That'd be cool. But yeah, I thought they tied it up nicely. I wasn't sure going into that last episode, like, oh man, how are they going to do all this in 45 minutes? But I think they did it.
Yeah, I think they
Um,
did a good job.
it tied up in a nice little bow. The story made sense. And yeah, if they give us more, awesome. If not, I mean, I'm willing to look at it as just a standalone piece. I'm not going to say it's my favorite Marvel TV series they've done so far, but it's up there.
Yeah, I think so. I still think for me, like I did love like Winter, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I believe a little bit more than this, and that still is number one in my eyes. So it's they're getting better, and it's just nice to see that overall, like it's getting positive responses from people,
Yeah.
and that as long as Disney and Marvel continue to like take this kind of whole Disney Plus side project seriously, they'll continue to like get subscribers and make money on it.
Yeah, I agree. They did a good job so far. They haven't really had a bad series.
Yeah, not really. Probably other than like, there's probably stuff we haven't watched that's probably bad on it. But
Yeah. Yeah, true. True. What else we got?
you have Sonic.
Sonic. Oh yeah, Sonic. All right, so Sonic, first and foremost, I want to say that this movie looks gorgeous.
Oh,
The
cool.
CGI is top notch. It's just like some breathtaking scenes they have here. I think they did a fantastic job with Knuckles and Tails. I like both of them a lot. Jim Carrey killed it again. I think if I have to compare the two, I think I actually like the first one better. I think
Okay.
it's the better movie. But the ending to the second one was better.
Good.
So it's kind of a toss up, but I think if you had to like ask me like which one would you rather watch again, probably the first one. But I think they're headed in the right direction to continue to make movies here. It's great for kids, great for adults. There's some nice little nods in there that I noticed from me when I was a kid. So like some nods to Sega, like the Genesis, that kind of stuff that I saw in there, and nods to the game that are really, really cool. And I don't want to spoil any of that, but overall, I was impressed. It looks great. It's a good story. They did a great job.
So is it available on digital now? Is that how you were able to watch it?
It is not, no.
Oh, it was still in
So
theaters when you. Oh,
theaters.
okay.
Yep. Yep.
All right. I'm excited to see it. Hopefully, eventually, I do. Just have to get out there and see it then. Other than that, let's get on to the big one then.
Sure. Let's do it.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Before
Yep.
saying anything else, spoilers
Spoilers.
ahead. Overall, because this is how it's going to go. Thank you guys for listening. Before we get
Yep.
into the spoilers here, you're more than welcome to hop off this podcast, go see it, and maybe join back. We'd appreciate if you do.
Yep.
But it is really hard to talk about this movie without going into some of the spoilers, even basic
Yeah. I don't think you
spoilers.
can. I don't think you
Yeah,
can.
because and in 5 seconds here we're going to start going into the spoiler stuff, and it's even at the very beginning it's very apparent what the spoilers are here. So again, this is final warning. Leave, come back if you haven't seen it yet or care about spoilers, but if not, feel free to enjoy the ride. uh Overall impressions of it is, I can see why this movie is so polarizing. People
Yeah.
either love it or people do not like it. I tend to fall on the liking it side.
Mhm.
Um, this was a different angle for Marvel universes, and I don't know why. I should have expected that from Sam Raimi. Like,
They made a Marvel horror movie.
yes, they did.
They did it.
And I think it's done incredibly well. Sam Raimi, I think I think needed Kevin Feige as a producer in order to like rein himself in for this movie.
Yeah.
Um, because like based on like what Sam Raimi has done since Spider-Man, I kind of should have known this was going to happen. Like it's
Yep.
going to be different, regardless of the fact if Kevin Feige is the executive producer of it. But we get right into it where they have it's the minor spoiler part of it. Scarlet Witch is the villain in this movie.
Yep.
Like, and I love the fact that they did that.
Mhm.
Thinking about it, you have the perfect setup for Wanda being a villain here with like how everything happened in WandaVision with her kids. So with that, of course, she wants the power to go into the multiverse and get it. Replace that Scarlet Witch there and replace their mother. Like it
Yeah.
makes total sense. Uh, what we didn't expect was the horror, which the horror portion of things. Which I'll let you kind of take the floor and get into some of it here, so I'm not talking
I
the entire time.
I think what I can appreciate most about the horror side of the movie is you could definitely see that there were moments where Kevin Feige let Sam Raimi be Sam Raimi, because like his like absolutely crazy style of horror that he does kind of pops its way in every once in a while. I'm thinking of like specifically um when Wanda was trying to get into one of the rooms through the water, or reflections. Like
Yeah,
that was cool. Um
when she came out of like the Kong thing, like
yes.
that was a straight
Yep.
reference to the Ring. And
Yep.
the horrifying part of it is the Ring is what like horrified me as a child from horror movies. So
Yeah.
like seeing that, like I knew it's Marvel, so it's not trying to like physically try to jump scare the heck out of me.
Right.
But the fact that there's even some sort of body dysmorphia when she's
Hmm.
coming out of it is like a different taste for Marvel.
Yeah. Without like, I mean, we already said spoilers, but like the way she handles the Illuminati
Yes.
was brutal.
Hmm.
Absolutely brutal. Every single one of them. Trying to think, even when they're running away from her and they're trying to shut all the doors and she's like throwing them open, and like my wife said, she's like, she looked like Carrie from like the
Yeah.
horror movie Carrie, with like the blood on her face. She's kind of like shuffling her foot behind her. It was terrifying, in a good way. I just think like when you reel Sam Raimi in but still let him have pieces, that's where he works the best. um yeah, I just think the horror elements of this movie made the movie for me. I thought they were some of the best parts of the movie.
Yeah, I love how different it is.
Mhm,
For the most part, like the one thing I can say is some of it did feel pointless. You know, we have this book that they're going after that
mhm.
in the end doesn't matter at all.
Not at all.
Like, and I get that you're trying to lead these characters to some sort of point,
Mhm,
to to like have this sort of hope, but not it's not even like the climax of the movie. We get to this and it turns out, oh, it's nothing, oh, it doesn't matter anymore. So it's just those types of things that I wish maybe were done a little bit better
yeah,
or meant something to the story, whether it's, and who knows, maybe it means something to the story in the next Doctor Strange. That's what tends to happen in these movies, is there's just this like little Easter egg that kind of links it to the next one or something like that. But I really liked America.
mhm,
I thought she was a good character. I really like that, you know, they're really going all in on the multi-dimensional stuff.
yep.
Um yeah, yeah, like I was about to say it's kind of hard to, but like the Illuminati reveal. How did you feel about that?
Well, I did everything in my power to not watch the majority of the trailers.
Mhm.
So going into the movie, obviously we knew, and again, spoilers for everybody. I feel like I have to keep saying that. We knew from the trailers that Professor X was there, right?
Yeah.
We knew that. I happened to see from like a TV trailer during one of the NBA finals, I saw Captain Carter's shield. So that
Yeah.
was kind of ruined for me. But seeing Reed Richards blew my mind.
Yeah.
I did not think that he was going to show up yet. And to see him there, I was like, no way they're doing Fantastic Four already. And obviously they're still a long ways away from a Fantastic Four movie, probably years at this point. But the fact that they acknowledged it, and X-Men, and even the What If series, right? The
Yeah.
animated series with Captain Carter got acknowledged, and another version of Monica Rambeau as
Yeah.
Captain
Captain Marvel.
Marvel. So cool. I mean, that to me was like the highlight of the movie, was the Illuminati, seeing all those people.
Yeah, I really liked what they did, because like specifically for like the Reed Richards, that's when my theater was like blowing up, like
Yeah.
what, like oh my
Yep.
god. Um, it just kind of stinks that they end up being useless to it
For
all.
now. I mean, that's in a different universe, so you know they're gonna come back.
Yeah, but like it's been such a long time since we like, you know, I feel like Professor X got like a little bit of time to like shine
Yeah,
in his area, where like I'm specifically disappointed with like the Reed Richards portion of things, where it
sure.
was his reveal was really cool,
Hmm.
but in against Wanda, powerless. Against
Hmm.
Wanda, nothing was getting in her way. And I get that the book of the, you know, damned, I guess,
Hmm.
boosted her powers to this insanely amounts where like I don't know if she takes on Captain Marvel if she's not like that powered up, cuz
Right.
Captain Marvel is pretty powerful
It'd be
in
pretty
the
close. Yeah.
yeah, in in the comic books. So you know, overall I really do like the way this movie ended up having. Um did it feel like a bit more like of a cop out with having like Doctor Strange take, you know, control of his undead version of himself in that world? I don't know. I felt a little weird. with how that ended up being like the final battle in a way.
Hmm.
But it was I enjoyed it. The overall
Yeah.
movie is this enjoyable ride, and it's worth it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little convenient that uh America had managed to kill a Doctor Strange and just so happened to bring it with her so that he could bury it so he could unbury the body later and use it. It was a little convenient. I thought it was cool him using the I don't even know what you call them, like demons
Yeah.
in that last fight. Like that was cool. But yeah, it did seem a little convenient, but I guess you had to find a way for him to not be in the same universe and still be able to, handle Wanda to a certain extent. Um, there is a lot of things that are fairly obvious that got cut. I know Sam Raimi had said that his original version of this movie was long.
Yeah,
Like I think
2 hours and 40 minutes. 2 hours and 40
right.
minutes is what the movie was
Yes.
supposed to be.
Right. So maybe when this comes out on 4K Blu-ray, we get the extended version specifically, and I'm forgetting his name, but the guy like the with the horns. Why am I forgetting his name? Because they like barely mention him in the movie. Like the green bull who at the
Yeah.
very beginning, um, he was from what I've read was supposed to be a bigger part of the movie and it got cut. They made a Funko Pop for him,
Yeah.
so there was
Okay.
obviously plans there that that stuff got cut because you barely see him in the movie. He
Hmm.
gets killed off pretty quick. So I would be interested in seeing like that extended version of what the original plan was, but I feel like it didn't seem rushed.
Yeah.
Right? It all made sense in the end.
Yeah, and in the end of the money is telling you the story there. People are happy that and they're excited to see it.
Yeah.
Um, the after credit trailers I thought were pretty interesting. I have no idea where it's going to go from here, to be honest. But overall, a very fun and I feel like almost a return to form.
Yeah.
We had Eternals was this very mixed bag that people were very mixed on,
Hmm.
and it seems almost separate from everything that's going on here. But Multiverse of Madness feels like it made everything a bit more connected. Not connected to the Eternals, essentially, but connected to the universe itself. And whether how they plan on bringing all of it together, we'll see. But I'm really glad I didn't get spoiled for this.
Yeah.
Unlike Spider-Man, where like we kind of knew what was gonna happen because of all of the rumors
Yep.
that were circulating. I feel like Marvel did a really good job of keeping under wraps that, like, for the most part, if you watch the trailers, you're gonna think that the other Strange is more the villain when he's
Yep.
more just a side
Yep.
character in all of this. So they did a really really good job,
Yep.
and I'm interested to see what they decide to do with Sam Raimi here, because there are talks of another Amazing Spider-Man or another Tobey Maguire Spider-Man to kind of relive or reignite what that was. But I don't think, me personally, I don't think it's something we need.
No.
Just let it go, let it continue. There's plenty of other projects that if he wants to get into the Marvel verse on, I feel like they'll let him in, because
Mhm.
based on how this movie is performing, his his take and his difference means a lot to the movie going community, where Marvel movies, especially like the first like superhero movie, in a way it all feels the same, where this one felt truly different and a different experience, where a part of you is on the edge of your seat, kind of hoping you're not going to get jump scared in a way.
Yeah.
So that's something I can really appreciate about what he did with this.
Yeah. Overall, I really, really enjoyed it. I'll have to take some time to figure out where it ranks all time in the Marvel movies, but I feel like it's fairly high.
Yeah. Now, I know they just released the trailer, but I have to ask you about this.
Okay.
What did you think of Avatar: The Way of Water trailer? I'm not sure. I don't know what your opinion of is on the Avatar
Hmm.
series in general, but for me, like even we were at a big D theater for the premiere of it. I was really impressed with how like good Avatar looked. Maybe the
Yeah.
production value is worth it, but well, I'm not sure what opinion you have, but did you have one at all?
I mean, the first Avatar I enjoyed. I saw in theaters,
Hmm.
and I bought it immediately. That was like the Blu-ray to buy when
Yeah,
Blu-ray was for like you had to buy Avatar. You couldn't find it. Um, I think that I agree with you. The trailer looked beautiful. I my opinion on Avatar is James Cameron cares more about making his movies look pretty than he does about
yeah,
the actual movies. I don't think Avatar is a bad movie. I enjoyed it. I think it's a little long. I'll watch it. I don't know if I'll see it in theaters. It depends. If I'm around like a IMAX, maybe, because I feel like that would be the way to see a movie like
yeah.
Avatar. But yeah, I mean, I'm down to see where it goes.
Yeah, as am I, and I just felt like that was kind of the biggest kind of trailer in all of it. A lot of movies
Yeah.
are coming out that I'm excited for, so let's here come the summer of movies, and
Yep.
I'm all on board for it anyway.
Me too. I'm excited.
So with that, hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast and thank you for listening. If you're interested in getting a hold of us, we have a Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We also have an email at highsensitivitypodcast@gmail.com. If you're interested in emailing us questions, news stories like Rachel did, thank you for that news story with the acquitted in that terrible game.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we appreciate you guys listening to us and hope to see you guys in the next hope you guys listen to the next podcast. Make sure you share it with a friend and review it on your podcast listening platform of choice. With that, we'll leave you off and see you guys later.
See you later.